So
Yeah.
what do you see when you work with women who are making this transition? How do they regain that faith in who they are at this new identity?
Right. I think um I think the biggest piece to understand, like in terms of the scaffolding, right? Like you just described a whole bunch of things in terms of how an organization scaffolds our identity, right? It tells us what performance looks like, what we're worth, right? Based on our salary, what they're going to pay us, how
Mhm.
much bonus we get, all of that kind of stuff, right? What we're worth. Um, it tells us, and the interesting thing is it tells us how we perform well based on someone else's criteria, right? Not on our own criteria, but on somebody else's criteria. And they tell us, well, your performance is good if you meet these particular criteria, but they don't tell you what it is about you that actually makes it possible for you to meet those criteria, right? So there's a lot of things that corporate defines for us and defines for us as individuals, both men and women, but women in general, because we're kind of socialized to look for validation and outside validation. Um, but it tells us who we are, but that is not a complete picture of who it is that we are, right? And we're never given an opportunity. I mean, who teaches us? Who teaches us about learning yourself and being a good student of yourself and being a good scientist of yourself, right? What we do is we take on the identities that people kind of throw on top of us. So when all of that is pulled away after you leave from corporate, you no longer can, I have a lot of women who are kind of like, I can't say that I'm the director of such and such 500 Fortune company or 50 Fortune, company anymore because that used to open doors for me. I didn't need to prove anything. I just needed to say that I was in C suite at this organization and there were a lot of assumptions that were made and that would open doors for me. Now I don't have that to fall back on. So when you have that identity, which was conferred on you by someone else pulled away, there's nothing to fall back on because nobody has ever taught us how to define our own identity and who it is that we are. So the work then becomes figuring out who you are, right? Figuring out who you are and what are the pieces that organization gave you that you can take with you because you're not starting from scratch. Right? You're not starting
Right.
from scratch. There are things that are generalizable that you can take. So we actually do an inventory of, well, what did your performance reviews say? What did they say you were good at? Let's pull that apart and let's look at that. You're good at relationships, you're good at networking, you're good at stakeholder management, you're good at strategy, you're good at this. Now, if you see those as skills that are only within a particular area of work, like you and I were talking about compartmentalizing, right? If you say these skills belong in these compartments, right, it becomes really confusing because when I'm not no longer in that compartment, what does it mean about those skills? So the work then becomes taking those skills and looking at them in a way that they scale and generalize to your not just to your business, but to your relationships and to your parenting and the way you show up as a partner and how you do things in your life. So being somebody who is very strategic in an organization, well, that's a skill that works itself out in planning your toddler's first birthday party. Right? Like that is the same
Yeah.
strategic skill. That is the same strategic skill in terms of as a woman, I want to propose to my partner and my fiance, and how am I going to make that happen? Right. Or this is the kind of children that I want to raise, and how do I strategically position my parenting so that I can accomplish that goal and
Yeah.
people develop my children so that they become the kinds of people that you know society will value and that my children can become independent in their lives without me, right? So it's
Yes.
removing the compartmentalization, taking those skills and generalizing them that you can take them anywhere. You can take them anywhere,
Yeah.
right?